this is Jam Master Daniel 96, and in today's video, I will be talking about what the new Star Wars trilogy should be, in my opinion, and let's get to it, shall we? Well, I have two ideas where I think they should take the new trilogy and where it should be set, in what time period it should be set. I think it should be set either in the Old Republic era or 100 to 1,000 years in the future after the sequel trilogy. Like, that's why with the Old Republic, we would be thousands of years before the movies, or we could have a trilogy set, as I said, 100 to 1,000 years after the 9 Skywalker Saga movies, and that would be a good way to kind of go beyond the Skywalker Saga, in my opinion. Like, those, I'd say, would be two good ways to go beyond the Skywalker Saga. And for an Old Republic trilogy, like I know a lot of fans want, and I remember, a couple years ago when there was that petition to get an Old Republic series on Netflix, but even if we don't get an Old Republic trilogy, we still could revisit the TV series idea and have it on Disney Plus, and we could see characters like Revan, Malak, Nihilus, Malgus, Scion. We could see, all those characters, or we can also see characters like Bastila, Satil Shan, Mitra Surik, the Exile, like stuff like those, like Candace Ordo, and all them. HK-47, we could see characters like that in an Old Republic trilogy. Or, they can make new ones along the way. Like, because I feel like if they do I feel like if we are going to get the Old Republic, I feel like there'll be some differences than the expanded universe. Like, because just like how, for example, the sequel trilogy era is different than the expanded universe stories after Return of the Jedi, even though there are some similarities, like with the sequel trilogy, like Kylo Ren's a new version of Jason Solo. Luke even used Force projection in the expanded universe. Both EU Luke and sequel trilogy Luke went into exile for different reasons, and then Palpatine's return in The Rise of Skywalker, because, who knows, maybe it'll be a clone like the EU, but that's just a little side note there. But, if an Old Republic trilogy, may have similarities to the expanded universe. I mean, I know there are some new Sith Lords that have been mentioned in some new canon sources, like the Darth Vader comics mention, there's the mention of Lord Momin. That's one. And then I think one comic mentions a Sith Lord called Darth Atreus. I think it's from one of the main Star Wars comics, if I can remember off the top of my head. Or it's some from annual issue. I can't remember which one. Darth Atreus. Because, Lord Momin is the one from the Darth Vader comics. And Atreus was a mention in one of the main Star Wars comics. And then in the book Master and Apprentice, there's a mention of a Sith Lord called Darth Rend, which is spelled W-R-E-N-D. And so they'll probably, make some new characters up for the new canon, and then they could bring in some of the characters from the EU for the, from the Old Republic era to put in the new canon Old Republic era. They would probably do stuff along the lines there, like have a balance between, and maybe we'll have characters, like newer characters that are kind of similar to ones that were, from the EU Old Republic. And that's pretty much, and I think Benioff and Weiss would probably be the guys to do an Old Republic trilogy. And I know when Rian Johnson, like when we first heard about he was going to get his own trilogy, I remember Rian Johnson saying that his trilogy isn't going to be Old Republic, because I remember he said he played the Old Republic game, and then he said it won't be Old Republic, it will be a completely new story, which brings me to my next trilogy idea, which is a trilogy set 100 to 1,000 years after the sequel trilogy. I know, because also in the expanded universe, there was the Star Wars Legacy comics, which was set 100 plus years after the original trilogy. So, I mean, if we went to 1,000 years into the future, I mean, the expanded universe even didn't do that. So, I mean, I think we could even do something even newer to the canon lore that we didn't even get with the Legends lore. So, we could have something new, like a sequel trilogy far in the future, like way past Rey, Finn, and Poe's time. Like, we could create new characters and stuff. It could be all new characters and all that. Like, who knows? I mean, this couldn't be, because I don't think, these new trilogies aren't going to be episodic trilogies, because The Rise of Skywalker will be the last episodic trilogy in the Skywalker saga, and, that will be stuff along there, even if we do a trilogy far in the future, we could have new ships, new weapons, new vehicles, new species. We could have even mix with familiar species. I mean, I think a trilogy far in the future, possibilities are endless to do whatever they want, man. You're not working with that many established characters. You can kind of create your own. You can almost make a thing that you can thrive kind of thing. I think they could really pull it off. I think a trilogy far in the future could go so many possibilities. Who knows? You can create new enemies. You can kind of create new anything in a trilogy set far in the future. You can, you can do a lot more. You can connect things from the previous movies and all other things. You can connect things and all that. And, all that stuff. Even with an Old Republic trilogy, I think you can even connect some of the established things. Even Rebel. One thing I forgot to bring up in an Old Republic trilogy is the Mandalorian War that was mentioned in Rebels. We could see more of that, and who knows, maybe the Mandalorian will explore more of that as well, and then maybe you can have some connections with that, even if you do an Old Republic trilogy with the Mandalorian War, if you build an Old Republic trilogy off of that and stuff. Even with really, and then back to the idea of going far in the future. You can even almost have the descendants of our characters from the sequel trilogy dependent on their fates. You can almost have stuff like that kind of thing. Or you can almost create you don't have to because I know we're kind of going to be done with the Skywalker saga. You can almost create your new a new family kind of thing. A family. You can create a new Star Wars family, almost the family that's gonna be replacing the Skywalkers. We could do stuff like that, kind of thing. We could kind of create maybe there's theories that the Rise of Skywalker title could mean the new name for the Jedi. Maybe for over the past 100 to 1,000, 100 to 1,000 years, we have the Skywalker Order kind of thing, and then maybe we have that, over the years, and Rey is kind of the legend of it all. You can have stuff like that, and then maybe they, either trilogy for an Old Republic or far in the future, you can almost have a Jedi and a Sith war kind of thing. That would be even cool as well, a full-on Jedi versus Sith war, regardless if it's Old Republic or far in the future. That would be even awesome. I think even that would even be a new thing for the movies to do. I just think, anything is possible. I think For me, I think we should go really to new territory regardless if it's Old Republic or far in the future. I mean, I just think we need to kind of move out from the typical rebellion versus empire kind of thing. I mean, the resistance versus first order, follows that kind of thing with the rebellion versus the empire from the original trilogy, but like pretty much the resistance is like the new version of the rebellion, as where the first order is the new version of the empire, which is I think after this trilogy is done, we need to do something, like as I suggested, like a Jedi, like a full-on Jedi versus Sith war kind of thing, or anything like create like new aliens, maybe kind of thing. That's why even when you had with the new Jedi Order series, when they did the Yuuzhan War, I felt that was even a new way to they took it in a new direction, and maybe they could do something with the new canon. Maybe do something with like a war against the Grisks. Like maybe we can. Who knows? Heck, even if we don't, heck, we can maybe see a trilogy with the Chiss and the Grisks. Maybe we could even see something like that. Maybe it doesn't even have if they don't even want to do anything with Force users and stuff, or Jedi versus Sith and all that. Maybe they could do Chiss versus Grisks, regardless on timeline placement kind of thing for either trilogy. And I mean, I just think there's anything. Like, I think we need to go is to newer territory, in my opinion. I think we need to kind of, go to new ground. I mean, that's pretty much all I gotta say with this video. And sorry for a few ramblings here and there. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think down below, what you think the next trilogy should be about, and what would you like to see. And I'll catch you guys next time with another video. Bye.